Hello guys, my name is Michael and welcome to part 2 tutorial of GTK adjustment. Today we are going to talk about two new functions. The first one, it is GTK adjustment clamp page. This is a crazy function which it is quite complicated to understand it, but once that you understand it, then it is fine. And the next one is GTK adjustment configure, which is another way of working instead of these 7 functions here, which we already used in the last tutorial. So let's see what the manual says about this function, clamp page. Where it is? Clamp page, there is. Says updates the value property to ensure that the range between lower and upper is in the current page. So in this example, between value and value plus page size. So if the range is larger than the page size, then only the start of it will be in the current page. So which means start means lower. Okay, so that means when it says then only the start of it will be in the current page. So that being said, updates the GTK adjustment value property to ensure that the range between lower and upper is in the current page. So between GTK adjustment value and GTK adjustment value plus page size. This is quite complicated. Anyway, I found something on internet which it is much better explanation that I can provide you. So I hope you understand it. I mean, it's not complicated to understand. I will show you in a moment. What means if the range is larger than the page size, then only the start of it will be in the current page. So only the start means only lower. Okay, we'll see in a moment. So it says GTK adjustment takes GTK adjustment clamp page takes 3 parameters. First one our adjustment, and the last one, the last two ones are the lower and the upper, because needs these 2 values to calculate these things here. Okay, so basically we are doing the same here. I'm going to call this function. Okay, and I will going to pass the adjustment here. Let me clean a little bit the problem. Okay, and then I will say lower and upper. So again, what this function does, well, let's go back a little bit. It says updates the value property. You see, updates the value property to ensure that the range, you see, it is about value. Okay, so basically it is in all this story about the value. If something goes wrong, then the start, which is lower, wins. So at least this is an explanation, a good explanation, which I found it on internet. So let's see. Let's go back. This means something like let's say 1 here. So this means lower value, it is less or equal to lower. Next thing means, let's call it B, lower, it has to be greater or equal to value, of course. So basically value is less or equal. This means lower, it is greater or equal to value which is less or equal to upper, and of course is less than value plus page size. So this means these adjustments here are value has to be less or equal to lower, basically this adjustment which we're learning in the last tutorial, so the value, so the clamp edge will be fit in if the value is less or equal to lower, lower is greater or equal to value, and it is smaller but or equal to upper, and of course it is smaller than value plus page size. Very important. So this means basically of course the next one it will be the same, so which means the upper, so that you understanding, it is greater than the value, and it is also greater or equal to lower. That is very important. And of course it's less or equal to value plus page size. Okay, next thing, we're going to talk in a moment about these crazy things here. The next thing, which means the last one, which is the value plus page size. Okay, so value plus page size has to be greater or equal to upper, greater than lower, and of course greater than the value. So basically this how it's working. So imagine yourself that if you have a if statement, like for example if upper minus lower, if upper minus lower is greater than let's say than page size, then it's true. If not, so here's the part, if not, then we have the lower here. What this means, let's go back. Up is the value property to ensure that the range between lower and upper is in the current page. So what's the current page? Again, this is very important. Says it is between value and value plus page size. Okay, so this is the clamp page. So this means when we are setting here 22 and then we are setting our value to 0, let's go back to 0, then it has to be between 0 and 0 plus 22. So basically if it is between 0 and 22, so it has to be there. If the range is larger than the page size, so this means if the range is larger, what this means, if the page size is 0 or 1 or 5, and we have here for example 10, that's very important. You have here 10 which is bigger than page size, so the range is bigger, then lower wins, which means this one. So says if the range is larger than the page size, then only the start of it will be in the current page. You see, only the start. So this means only lower is the start. I hope I understand it right, because if not, then I have the same problem with you, but I'm sure this means. So basically lower it is. So going back to our example, we said value has to be lower or equal to smaller or equal to lower, which means that lower has to be greater or equal to value, but smaller and equal to upper, which it is which means that upper it is of course smaller than the value plus page size. This means upper needs to be greater than value, needs to be greater or equal to lower, and has to be less or equal to the value plus page size. So here I forgot to put equal. Okay, the same thing happens value plus page size has to be greater or equal to upper and less than lower and less than value. Okay, so that being said, if you take care about these things, just put pause and watch them again and again and again. But one thing is for sure, this is the part which you need to understand, that if the upper minus lower is less or equal to page size, then we have our claim page, it's true. If not, then lower, how the guy said where I was finding it, wins. So this means basically the start will be set, or let's go back to not miss it. If the range is larger than the page size, then only the start of it will be in the current page. You see, so only the start will be in the current page. So this means only lower will be there. Okay, so just remember that. Okay, so that being said, let's move to the next function. Let's see what's the story with the next function. GTKAdjustment Configure, which is right here, and says, as you can see, it is a function which returns void, it does nothing, and takes this time 7 parameters. Why? Because it takes the same 6 parameters like GTKAdjustment new, but this time takes also an adjustment. So sets all properties of the adjustment at once. Use this function to avoid multiple emission of the change signal to GTKAdjustment set lower for an alternative way of compressing multiple emission of change at once. So adjustment, the new value, the new minimum value, the new maximum value, the new stepping, and so on. So basically, let's see. Let's call this function. So the first one is our adjustment, and now we are going with new values. So we are setting here adjustment value. We are set it to 10, so this time we are set it to 0. The lower we let it to 0. The upper, which should be 100 as we were working the last tutorial, this time I will set it to 10 only. The step increment I will let it to 1, and of course the next one, the page increment I set it this time to 2, and the page size I will set it to 0. So basically, what did this function? This function helped me to update or to change this information or create this information which we were providing here through all these functions. This is the GTKAdjustment Configure function, and this is what this function does, so that you understand it. And use this function to avoid multiple emission of the change signal. So see GTKAdjustment set lower for an alternative way of compressing multiple emission of change into one. Okay, so that being said, I think we covered I hope everything about these two functions, or even about this clamp page function, which looks like a little bit crazy, but once that you understand it, then you know that it's not that complicated as it looks like. This means just be sure the way how you are setting your values to the adjustment new function or configure function, because if you need to this function to set the range between low and upper, so to update it is in the current page like here says, then make sure that you do those things right the way how I showed you. If not, if something goes bad or if something is not what are you trying to, then it will be always set to lower. So if the range is larger than the page size, the only start of it will be in the current page. Only the start of it will be the current page. So this means I hope I remember. If not, leave a comment when we are going to talk about GTK scroll bar, because there I can provide you a better example, so you will see what happens if it will be set to start and not based on this adjustment which we are going to set them. Until then, thank you guys for watching. If you like it, please subscribe, share with your friends, and until next time, see you guys.